Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, my name is Jazz Vader, and in today's video, we're going to be ranking every single vehicle in Fortnite history from worst to best. Now, just before we start, I want to remind everybody that my opinions, they're my opinions. If you think something should be a little bit higher, a little bit lower, make sure to leave a comment down below and I will read every single one of them. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, so any help is appreciated. But hey, now we've got it all out of the way, let's just dive straight into the Fortnite vehicle ranking. And starting off this list, at the number 21 spot, you guys were probably expecting this to be down here, and it is the shopping cart. Quite literally the first vehicle ever to be added to Fortnite. It was never going to make it too far up the list. It's just really basic, it's super clunky, and when you're considering it against like newer vehicles like the mechs or the drift boards, it just wasn't going to do very well. Everything about it just screams early Fortnite. It's iconic. It could only have come out in those first 4 seasons, but unfortunately, it's very much a relic of that time, and it just doesn't hold up well today. It's super slow, it has no health, you're completely exposed, and unfortunately, it's just fallen down the list. And following that one up, at the number 20 spot on this list, is another fan favourite, and I know I'm going to get cooked for putting this down here, but it is the all-terrain kart, better known as the ATK. Listen, I'm sorry, but this thing is barely better than the shopping cart. I mean, of course, it has its benefits, it has the whole drifting, it has the whole bouncing roof, you can actually fit 4 players on it instead of 2. It's a decent vehicle, but I'm sorry, everybody, once you see what this thing is going up against, you'll realise it literally never could have gotten past the bottom 3 on this list. It's just super slow and it's incredibly open. You're gonna get shot riding this thing. Yeah, I don't know about this one. I really want to put it higher. This thing has a soft spot in my heart, but I just can't move it any higher than it is. And unfortunately, that's why it's at the number 20 spot on this list. But hey, coming up next is a super interesting one, which, yeah, I know I'm also going to get cooked for putting here. It's another fan favorite, and it is the cannon. I mean, obviously, it was introduced in Season 8. It had the whole pirate theme to it. But this item was, it was actually super cool and super unique. And it was great for movement. I just don't think it was a great vehicle. Of course, moving it around was kind of similar to how the shopping trolley worked. You kind of pushed it from the back. You could give it a boost. But the real strength of this weapon came from being able to shoot yourself out of the cannon. And you would send yourself flying. And I don't mean like a shockwave or like some other more modern boost. No, I mean you could travel halfway across the map with this thing if you just aimed it like basically all the way up. It was incredible, and you could deploy your glider from it so you could get even further. Honestly, it's one of the best movement items of all time, but if you consider it as a vehicle, it's simply atrocious. It's actually unusable as a proper vehicle. As movement for the season, it's great, but as a vehicle, it's literally horrendous, and that's why it's all the way at the number 19 spot on this list. Alright, and coming up next, at the number 18 spot on this list, is honestly one of the most mid vehicles in Fortnite history, and it is the boats. These came out with the release of Chapter 2 of Fortnite, and they were only really good in that season, and maybe Chapter 2 Season 3? I mean, these things were simply just too situational to be any good. Obviously, being boats, they can only drive on rivers and water, which, it was great on the Chapter 2 map, but it just meant that if you wanted to get somewhere without either of those two, or you hit like a waterfall or an incline on one of these rivers, you can't do anything. I gotta mention as well, this vehicle did actually have a weapon. It had a little missile you could shoot from the boat. It was a really good missile and it actually did solid damage, but I don't know if this was just my luck, but it took forever to actually land or hit anything. But I mean, if the target was big enough, it was, it was pretty decent. It was great for destroying builds, it was great for destroying buildings. Honestly, this thing was great in its own season and on its own in its own seasons, but as Chapter 2 progressed, you had so many great vehicles coming out like the chopper or the whiplash. You just weren't going to be taking this thing anymore, and that's why it's at the number 18 spot on this list. I'm sorry, but this thing was never really all that good, and unfortunately, it's just ended up down the backside of the list. And coming up next is probably a vehicle you guys have completely forgotten about, and it is the Chapter 4 car. Obviously, you had the Nitro Drifter in Mega, and you had whatever the one was in Last Resort. I mean, they were basically the same vehicle, so I'm just going to lump them both together, but I never really liked this thing. I don't know why. I mean, it was awful off-road, and if you know anything about Chapter 4, most of it was off-road, so it was basically useless unless you were like in the bottom corner of the map. I genuinely don't know why you'd willingly take this over any of the go-to movement items that this chapter had. I mean, yeah, this chapter had so many other go-to movement items. You had the shockwave hammers, you had the kinetic blades, you had the rocket ram. You're just not going to be taking this thing. 9 times out of 10, you're only taking this because you have none of those things. It's one of my personal least favorite vehicles of all time. Not because it's awful, it'll get you from A to B, but because it's just mid. And honestly, I think that's the worst thing any Fortnite vehicle can ever do. It could be fun but bad, and it could be good but boring, but if it's neither, it's just kind of like mediocre and not exciting. I'm sorry, I just can't rate it too high. Coming up next at the number 16 spot, I feel so bad for the chapter 4 car right now because this one's a bit of a weird one, and it is wildlife. Yeah, I'm literally gonna put the boars, the wolves, you know, like the pigs, I'm going to be putting them above the chapter 4 car, and it's because, you know, they were actually really good. I mean, basically all these things was it was just sprinting. That was all this was. It was an external sprinting feature. I mean, I don't have much to say about it. I mean, it was a nice quality of life feature. I mean, it really helped when you couldn't, like, find a car or a tank or a vehicle in chapter 3. But I mean, let's be real, you're not going to be taking a boar over like a whiplash or an actual vehicle. It's just not going to happen. It's very situational. It's very, oh my god, I just need to get out of here. Look, there's a pig over there. I'm just going to ride it over to the rave cave and then I can get something else. I mean, a super cool thing as well was, you know, how you tame these things. They would actually fight alongside you in a battle. Super cool for zero build, kind of useless in builds. It was really fun, honestly, and I really wish they would bring them back. It adds so much to the game. It's nothing crazy, but honestly, they were pretty decent, and they more than deserve to be sat at the number 16 spot on this list. And coming up next is a bit of a boring one, so I'm not going to talk about it for long, and it's literally just the SUV from chapter 5. I mean, there isn't much to say about this vehicle. It's literally just the whiplash, but slower and more clunky. I mean, it had a bit of extra health. I mean, it ran out of fuel a little bit slower. I mean, it's got a bigger hitbox. I mean, unless you're just trying to camp out in this thing, you know, like healing up after you've been shot at, or you're trying to ram the enemy team and you need that extra health as they're kind of shooting at you, you're just not going to be using this thing over the whiplash, which is basically almost always right next to it. It makes no sense, and it honestly hasn't been viable since Wrecked. And coming up next at the number 14 spot on this list, introduced in Chapter 6 Season 2, it is the Armored Truck. Honestly, this vehicle, it's literally just an SUV, but better in every single way. Of course, I mean, if I'm going to start talking about this thing, I have to mention the fact that this thing has a guaranteed mythic. I mean, it's basically just a portable vault from that season. It's super cool, but this also does mean it has a mini boss fight attached to it. So, you know, it isn't all positives. If you try to drive this thing, you know, you're going to be marked on the map. People are going to know where you are. They're going to hear the gunshots. I mean, when you blew up the vault, it would actually leave the back of the thing open and you could actually stand inside of it. That was huge for zero build. It was actually really, really good cover. It had over 2,000 HP as well. I mean, seriously, this thing was insane using it as a squad. You could just get 2 people in the back shooting out. Like I said, for a couple of vehicles on this list, it'll get you from A to B. I mean, you can basically tank an entire squad with this thing, but I just think there's been better vehicles across Fortnite as a whole. And coming up next at the number 13 spot is one of those better vehicles, and it is the tank. Introduced in Chapter 3 Season 2, if the armored truck was a better version of the SUV, the tank was a better version of the armored truck. I mean, you had the main cannon on the front, which was super cool. It had 2 different aiming modes. You had the free aim option where you just kind of looked around and you could shoot people, but you also had the aiming in feature. I believe it was also a thermal scope, so you could see players up in like the blimps and that kind of thing. You also had the turrets on the back, which was quite literally just the trap, but even better. I mean, having a full squad on this thing was insane. You were unstoppable. It was a really, really good vehicle. I loved it to pieces. And I wish they could have brought it back in seasons like Shock and Awesome and Chapter 7 Season 2. I mean, it's a really, really solid vehicle. I honestly think from this point on the list, there is not a single vehicle that I would call bad. If these vehicles came back in modern seasons, you know, I'd be more than happy to see them return. Hey everyone, Editor Jazz Vader here. I realized I completely skipped over the vehicle at the number 12 spot, so I'm just going to talk about it quickly. It's the Quad Crasher. I mean, what do I even say about this thing? It used to be great. Obviously, Season 6, it could fly around. It was absolutely fantastic. They did actually fix it for about a week in OG, and it was super fun. When it came back in Chapter 3, they ruined it. If it gets even the slightest amount of airtime, it just nosedives immediately. It's really good for mobility. You know, it's pretty decent as just, you know, like a quad bike, but it's a complete shadow of its former self. And if it was exactly how it drove in Season 6 today, it would have easily broken into the top 5 on this list. But unfortunately, it just hasn't, and unfortunately, it's just really, really mediocre at the moment. Back to you, past Jazz Vader. Oh, right, and coming up next at the number 11 spot on this list is the Chopper and the OXR hammerheads, you know, from Chapter 6 Season 4. I mean, they're basically the exact same vehicles, so I decided to group them together. The only real difference is the fact that people can stand on top of the OXR helicopter. Honestly, it's a really, really good vehicle. It's great for movement. It's great for defense. You know, you're not going to get shot down from this thing. It's absolutely fantastic. You know, you can get basically a whole squad up here and an NPC, which is super cool. Not many vehicles make room for the NPCs you can hire, and I love it to pieces. It felt, honestly, I'm gonna say this, I think out of, you know, like all the basic cars, I think this is the only non-traditional vehicle to actually make good use of the fuel mechanic. I mean, half of the fun of this item was, you know, realizing you've got no fuel, you have to land at a gas station. I mean, it was super fun, and it worked with the gameplay loop this vehicle brought to the game. Talking about super fun, it is incredibly fun tearing through builds with this thing. It's just great for that kind of purpose, though. You can just use it as a battering ram, and it's just completely insane. Listen, do I think it's the best vehicle in the game? Obviously not. I've put it right at the midpoint on this list. It's not too weak, it's not too overpowered, it's just right. However, there's just been better vehicles, there's just been stronger vehicles, and one of those vehicles coming up next at the number 10 spot is the Octane. It's actually insane this thing was ever in the game, dude. I mean, this wasn't a car body. I mean, most of you Chapter 5 people, I know a lot of you watch my videos, you always get angry when I slander it. You guys might be familiar with the Octane car body, you know, the basic one that you can choose. No, this was the Octane from Rocket League. Not nerfed, it wasn't nerfed in any single way. I mean, nothing about it changed. It was literally just the car, like 1-to-1. I mean, this thing was going 300 miles an hour. It could drive on walls and it could go upside down in the air. Like, the single week it was in the game, I mean, made Fortnite a horror game. I mean, you'd just be walking around like Sleepy Sound or Coney Crossroads and you'd just get murked. You'd get instantly wiped out by this thing. It did like so much damage as well. I mean, what a time Chapter 3 was, right? I mean, there would be riots if this monster was ever added back to the game. I mean, the only real nerf this vehicle had was the fact that you could barely control it because of just how fast it was going. It's one of the most insane vehicles in Fortnite history, and I just think there's 9 more vehicles on this list that are slightly better than this thing. And coming up next, at the number 9 spot in this list, is one of my favorite vehicles of all time, and it is the Bowler. Honestly, this item is so fun, it is so unique, it is so cool, it is just pure Fortnite through and through, and I love this thing to bits and pieces. Now listen, I'm gonna be fully honest with you guys, it's not in the best state in the moment. I think in Chapter 3 they nerfed it into the ground. I mean, I still remember all the way back in Season 8, the strat of like just hanging from a tree with these things. It was super fun. This is a vehicle that could have only ever come out in Chapter 1. It was absolutely insane, and it was just great for getting around the map. I mean, a huge part of the movement with this vehicle was the fact that it had a grappler built into the vehicle. You know, infinite use grappler, you could just grapple onto anything in reach. In its current state, if it was a little bit stronger HP wise and maybe had some sort of non-destructive self-defense feature, you know, like a deployable smoke grenade or like a super boost, it would literally be perfect. But honestly, outside of that, it's a pretty decent vehicle. It more than deserves to be sat where it is on the list. But it's not awful like the shopping trolley. It's not over the top like the Octane. It's just good. But hey, coming up next at the number 8 spot in this list is one of the 3 main vehicles added in the Joyride update all the way back in Chapter 2 Season 3, and it is the truck. I mean, this thing in its prime was a menace. It would literally plow through anything, you know, anything and everything without stopping. It's been nerfed since. I mean, it can't really do that anymore, but it's still pretty solid. It's very similar to the SUV in tons of different ways. It has tons of HP, it's great for cover, and it's also pretty strong off-road. I mean, it's essentially the tank of the Fortnite vehicles, apart from the actual tank, you know. And yeah, I'm going to wrap around to what I was saying. It would also fare pretty well off-road. It was great for maps like Chapter 2 and Chapter 4. The lower speed is a fantastic trade-off for that increased health and damage that comes with it. I mean, I still remember when this thing got added, and it was literally my favorite out of the main 3, because I could just plow through Lazy Lake and take out a ton of players. It's a fantastic vehicle. It more than deserves to be in the top 10, and that's why it's sat all the way at the number 8 spot on this list. I don't have much to say about it. It's very self-explanatory. I mean, it's just fantastic. But hey, talking about fantastic, coming up next at the number 7 spot on this list, I mean, it's the other vehicle introduced in the Joyride update, and it is the Whiplash. I mean, this thing is insane. It's one of the best vehicles in Fortnite history. I mean, of course, we have to consider the fact that it had a major buff in Chapter 5, which turned it from the Whiplash into the sports car. They're basically the exact same vehicle, but slightly better. I mean, it basically just increased the boost on this vehicle. I mean, you can go super fast with this thing, you know, up to like 90 miles an hour, I believe, if you're going on roads, and even off-road, you're still reaching like 70, 60 miles an hour. I mean, there's a reason this thing has just become a mainstay of the game. It's like shockwaves, you know? It's literally just the basic standard vehicle of the game now. It's perfectly serviceable, but it's nothing mind-blowing. And that's why it's sat at the number 7 spot on this list. But hey, you know what? Coming up next, we're going to completely flip the tables with this one, and it is the Flying Saucer, or the UFO, or whatever you want to call it, released in Chapter 2, Season 7. I mean, this thing was incredible. It was basically a chopper on steroids. I mean, you had so many different things. You had the tractor beam, you know, you could literally just pick up players. Of course, being a copy of the chopper, you also had, you know, the whole boost thing, nothing really special there. It's just, you know, going slightly faster for a little bit. You had the ball gun, which was super good. I mean, it had a massive blast radius. It could demolish buildings, and it could annihilate players. I mean, the weapons on this item were just fantastic. I mean, this vehicle, it also had the 3 lives mechanic, so if you got shot down, the vehicle slowly repaired itself and you could go back to flying it again after you had a fight. You also had the whole meta with this item where you could just fly up until like you were outside of render distance and you could just hang in the air. It was honestly a super cool vehicle, and it could have only ever come out in Chapter 2 Season 7. No, I don't think we're ever going to see this thing ever again. It's one of a kind, it's absolutely fantastic, and that's why it's all the way at the number 6 spot on this list. Hey, but you know what? Kicking off the top 5 on this list, at the number 5 spot are planes. Yeah, dude, do I even need to say anything about this? Simply one of the most broken vehicles in Fortnite history. People still shiver when they hear the name planes. Listen, I'm going to start off by talking about what made this thing such a menace. And yeah, the biggest issue with this thing was the fact that it could just fly through anything. I mean, seriously, this thing would just level buildings, and I don't mean in the way that like tanks or choppers could. No, I mean this thing could go through anything and everything. If you were just chilling and tilted, you know, you were like in the big tower, I mean, you were going to die. If you were in a build fight, you were going to die. If you were just kind of hiding inside of a random house, you were just going to die. It was absolutely ridiculous, and this is without even talking about the turret that it had on the front of the gun. Listen, I will say they did kind of nerf this thing into the ground after Season 7, but otherwise, it's just a really, really good vehicle. It feels smooth to fly around, it can cross the map in less than 5 minutes, it's an insane item, it's 10 out of 10, it's one of the strongest vehicles in the game. I just think there's 4 more that are better than this one. And coming up next, at the number 4 spot, is one of those better items, and it is the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter. I'm going to group them together, they're literally the exact same. And these, I mean, literally take every single thing I've just said about the planes and buff them on basically every single statistic. These are just stronger planes, except these things took the 3 life mechanic from the UFO, which means it was just incredible. I mean, the damage was buffed, you know, instead of like 30 to 40, you were doing 60 to 70. I mean, it's nowhere near as exposed either, you know, with a plane, your head sticking out the cockpit. So if somebody's good enough with like a hunting rifle, you can like get sniped out of the air. No, this thing was completely closed in. You are not going to get shot out of these things. I mean, the only disadvantage this thing had to a plane was, you know, the TIE Fighter. It only had 2 seats instead of 4 seats. But outside of that, it is one of the most broken items in Fortnite history. I'm not going to talk about it for long because it's just the planes but better. And that's why it's all the way at the number 4 spot on this list. And coming up next, at the number 3 spot, is the Dirt Bike. Introduced in Chapter 4 Season 1, it is one of the best vehicles the game has ever seen. I mean, the thing was super tight. It was going around like 90-degree angles. It was turning around in a half second. I mean, it just blew me away. I mean, it just feels like a vehicle that somehow escaped Chapter 1 and made its way into Chapter 4. This feels like something we should have had for years. I mean, it just fits perfectly into what Fortnite is as a game. And you know what? Whenever it's back into the loot pool, it feels incredible. I mean, this thing was going up against some of the best movement items in Fortnite history, you know, and even through all of that, this thing was just as viable as any of these movement items. And that's a testament to how good this thing is, you know, it's not broken, it's not overpowered, it's not going to laser people in 10 seconds. I mean, it's literally just a bike, but it's made its way past tanks and helicopters. It's incredible, and it more than deserves to be at the number 3 spot on this list. And coming up next, at the number 2 spot on this list, it's one of the most overpowered vehicles this game has ever had, and it is the Brute and the Salvage Brute from Chapter 2 Season 8. I mean, just come on, the fact this thing even existed was pure insanity. It ruined what should have been one of the greatest seasons of all time, and it was just incredibly overpowered. It had like recharging missiles, it had a shotgun that didn't need any ammo. It also had like a stomp attack and like a super jump. Getting hold of one of these things is just a one-way ticket to getting a win. And this is going to be my hottest take for this video by far. I think that with today's movement, you know, like tactical sprinting, you know, like mantling, you know, sliding, this thing could probably come back with no real issues. I think it would be completely balanced with how high the skill ceiling has just risen in recent years. But for the time it was released in, it was just way too much for the community to handle, and that's why I think it got hated as much as it did. But listen, love it or hate it, you can't deny it's one of the best vehicles the game has ever had, and that's why it's all the way at the number 2 spot on this list. But as I'm sure you've all noticed, it's not at the number 1 spot. So, what is? And coming up next at the number 1 spot, sitting all the way at the top of the list, it more than deserves to be here, and it is the drift board. Seriously, what a go-to movement item. Like, what a go-to vehicle. It's literally my favorite vehicle in Fortnite history. Whoever came up with this deserves a raise. I mean, you can literally boost, angle yourself, and fly through the air. Like, that's not even an over-exaggeration. This thing can literally cross the map in, like, maybe 2 or 3 boosts. I mean, this thing led to so many snipes and trick shot compilations that it started an entire genre of Fortnite content on YouTube. I mean, seriously, you could probably still find people making videos on this thing today. That's just how good this thing was. Of course, it most recently came back for the TMNT weekend, which, yeah, it had durability, but it was still super cool. Pairing this thing up with a Reaper sniper rifle, it was too much, dude. The Reaper and this drift board, it was easily one of the best times to be a fan of Fortnite. I could gush about this thing over and over and over. It is easily one of the best things Fortnite has ever created. I don't even think this is objective. I just think this is, like, I think this is the best movement item they've ever added to the game. God, do I love it to pieces. And that's why it's at the number 1 spot on this list. Alright everybody, thank you so much for sticking all the way till the end. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and make sure to turn that notification bell on so you get told when my videos come out. It would really mean the world to me, and I would appreciate it so much. Also, I just want to add, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to head on over and join my official Discord server. There's a link in the description. It'll take you right to the server. It's absolutely incredible. You get told when my videos come out. There's tons of mini games. We have an amazing community, and I can't wait to see you there. But hey, at the end of the day, all you really gotta do is take care of yourself, drink some water, and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye!